we are so excited to interview Rhoda Horn. This is Voices from the Field, and we are just so excited to have Rhoda on. She has 15 years of experience in softball, and she's the owner of Recruiting with Rhoda and RR Clinics. She was the president of Tiburon Girls Softball for 8 years and a board member of Marin Girls Softball for 8 years. She is currently the advisory board member for the NorCal Fusion Travel Softball Organization. And she's also been a certified personal trainer for 30 years and has a daughter who currently plays in the ACC. So she brings a ton of coaching experience in both travel softball and recreational softball. So thank you, Rhoda, for being on with us today. And I just want to give you the floor. Tell us about your business. So Recruiting with Rhoda is your business that you put on your website. You have it all on social media. So just give us an insight on what your organization is about and what services you provide.
Yes, thank you, Katie, for having me. Big fan of extra inning softball. I have been for a long time, and I appreciate that. Yes, my business is Recruiting with Rhoda, and I'm going into my third year here. And the reason I started this business is because when my daughter was on a travel ball team, a 14U team, Firecrackers Metler, which Greg Metler is my mentor and has always been a big part of extra inning softball. He just taught us everything we knew about recruiting. Like, we just thought that was the norm, to have a coach that knew everything about recruiting and shared it with us and had demands on what the players needed to do and what he wanted them to do. And then we just thought, okay, this is great. But then during COVID, the team disbanded. And so we went to a different team, and nobody knew anything about recruiting. So we realized quickly that we were very spoiled to have Greg. And luckily we ended up getting back with Greg. And then in the meantime, people kept asking us questions because we knew so much because of Greg. And then, empty nest happens. And my husband and my daughter said, you really should start sharing the information that we've learned. And that's how Recruiting with Rhoda started. I just wanted to share recruiting information that from our experiences and from what Greg had taught me, and pass it along, because a lot of people didn't know much about the recruiting process. So that's how it started.
I love that. It's so true too, because I feel like we get a lot of questions about recruiting and people just don't have the resources that, like you said, I was very lucky too. I had a coach that knew a lot, but there's a lot of people that don't, and then they kind of get stuck, especially with everything's always changing. I feel like the NCAA is always changing something, and it's so hard to understand that. Like,
especially now, like, we're in the wild,
Yes.
wild west. I went to the NFCA convention, and the
Okay.
number one answer was, we don't know. Like, any questions asked about recruiting or NIL or anything changing, we don't know. Stay tuned. It's crazy.
Right. It is. It's crazy. It's so hard to keep up with. So kind of going off of that, what specific challenges or gaps would, if I say, in the recruiting process that you noticed and like you were like, I want to get this addressed in your company, Recruiting with Rhoda?
Yes, I felt like coaches would say, okay, girls, do your emails. Well, what does that actually mean? Right? So I wanted to break it down into basic terms. I have for teams, I have an introduction to the recruiting process where I will teach you what an introduction email looks like. So
Awesome.
Because people say, I don't know what to write, I don't know what to do, and then it's the barrier to entry. So we literally have 4 sessions, and the first session is about emails. What does an introduction email look like? Besides being short and sweet, what do we need to include in it? How do we get coaches to open it? What does the subject line look like? What should your video be like in there? So that then they know, oh, this is what it's supposed to look like. This is what I do. And then what does a follow-up email look like? And then the second meeting, we talk about highlight videos. I'm very demanding with the quality of my highlight videos. We've all seen videos that I don't know who I'm supposed to look at. I don't know what's going on. I'm not reading the caption. I want to see everything I need to know in the video. Well paced, good editing, showcasing your skills, building your brand. So I'm adamant about having my girls have the best videos to present the best themselves as the best they can. Then we talk about social media. My daughter was recruiting during COVID, and we learned all about Twitter. Never used Twitter. We learned about Twitter. So I teach the girls what to do, what not to do, how to help get free exposure from social media. Then we also talk about camps, and building your brand is a big thing. I always feel like your emails and your social media need to have a purpose. Like, and all your highlight videos, what is the purpose of this video? Well, it's to build your brand. what is your brand? And people, when I ask them, what is your brand as a player, they don't know what I mean. So I
Yeah.
say, what are your 5 skills that you're the best at? What are you trying to sell to coaches? So that's how that's the basis of my business. And then
Mhm.
after going to the NFCA convention this year, my biggest takeaway was be your own advocate. And I'm sort
Mhm.
of gearing my business towards teaching girls how to be their own advocate. Again, instead of saying be your own advocate, what does that actually mean?
Yeah.
And the physical skills. I went to a team and I introduced myself and I shook one girl's hand and she had the kind of a not a good handshake. And I said, wait a minute, lesson number one, give me a firm handshake and look me in the eye. So
Yeah.
physically teaching them how to be their own advocate. That's a big push for me this year.
Yeah, I love that. That's so cool that you mentioned branding and advocacy because we do an ambassador program that I lead, and that's we talk about a lot of the branding and advocacy parts of it. So I might need to talk to you in the later months. Maybe we can hop on a
We can
Zoom
talk
with some
more.
girls. Yeah, that'd be
Yes.
awesome. But that is super cool because I think social media, I know when I was going through the process, it was more of like emails and we
Mm-hmm.
did like a highlight video, like not a highlight even, it was like a recruiting video. It wasn't even like highlights in game because we didn't have that. So the way
Yes.
it's changed in social media is huge, and it's just like you said, it's always changing. There's something.
It's evolved. I can't keep up. And I
I
see
know.
so many things on social media. This is happening. This is happening. Wait, is it true? Is it not true? And the NFCA
Right.
has done a very good job of updating its members on what legal things are happening, changes,
Yes.
like is the roster limit approved and the 5 for 5, all these things that come up. And I always tell people, just calm down. We'll wait and see if it actually passes or if it's just a rumor. But like you said, it's crazy. It's ever changing, and we just have to do the best we can to educate ourselves and keep up.
Yeah, yeah. And I've noticed on your social media, you've asked a lot of college coaches different, advice and tips and all that. Do you see, is there usually like a pretty consistent answer across the board, or does it genuinely depend on each coach when it comes to like social media and how they want to be
Mm-hmm.
contacted and that sort of thing?
I think it depends on each coach. I have
Yeah.
had younger coaches that literally tell me I don't look at emails. I use Twitter.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. But I still believe email is king. So we
Correct.
all have to email. But other coaches say, I don't use Twitter. I use Instagram.
Yeah.
And it's
Right.
fascinating because I always thought Twitter was number one for softball recruiting. I just had a kid that committed and they found each other through Instagram. So I
Wow.
tell the players to cover all your bases. You must email, you must do Twitter, and you must do Instagram. At this
Yes.
point, this is what I'm currently suggesting. Cover all your bases, and most of it's cut and paste. And they're all the 3 of those things are free, like
Right.
free exposure for yourself. So hit it and hit it hard.
Yes, absolutely. I love that. I love that. So, kind of going towards talking to young athletes that maybe 2027s, 2028s, kind of getting their feet wet with the recruiting process. What do you think is the most important step for these athletes that are wanting to get into the recruiting process here in the next year or two? What's the most important step for them to take, when they're just starting their recruiting journey?
Yes, first off is build your skill set. Be good
Yeah.
enough so that you can get recruited. And then the second part is to ease into it. Like find someone that can help you write an introduction email. Find someone that can help you create a video and ease into the process. If you're a freshman, let's send out a few introduction emails, but continue to follow up. But learn how to make those videos. Learn how to write the emails. And the more you practice, the better you get at it. So when it comes really down to time for actual recruiting, you're ready for the process. You've been testing it, you've
Right.
been practicing. And then when coaches do start coming to watch, you know what to do because you've been doing it. And same for
Yeah.
camps, like go to some local camps where you can actually learn what camps are like and how to perform in front of people with clipboards. We don't need to be flying across the country when you're young. Wait
Right.
for an actual invitation. But go to some so you have the experience. Like everything
Mhm.
builds on everything that you've done. So gain some experience, practice it, get better at it, and then come your sophomore, junior year, you're ready for the recruiting process when it actually starts.
Yes, yes. So speaking of that development, that building that skill set, we're doing for each month of the year, us at Extra Inning, we're trying to kind of like hone in on like a certain topic to kind of really talk about throughout the month. And so for February, which this will be released in February, we're going to talk about kind of just starting off the season strong, right? Like spring season's happening, school ball's happening, maybe travel softball, depending on where you're at. And I kind of want to hit on the coaching side of it because you mentioned, you know, you need to build that skill set. How, as a coach, can you help develop your players, starting the season off strong and developing them while also still focusing on like making sure that they're getting those the right exposure as well? So how do you balance that development while also making sure they're getting recruited in the process, if that makes sense?
Well, I think as coaching wise, it's always about the fundamentals, but the recruiting aspect, you got to put yourself out there. And
Yeah.
during high school ball, it's hard, you're limited. So
Yeah,
I,
right.
I always preach to my high school players, don't fall off the face of the earth.
Yeah.
Stay communicating with your college coaches, but find a way to make yourself better during high school for
Love
when you
it.
come into travel ball. If you're a pitcher and you're
Yeah.
just striking people out, well, that's great, but what's the purpose to your strikeouts? Are you trying to
Right.
expand the zone? Are you working on a certain pitch? Are you trying to work on the changeup or get the rise ball higher, higher, higher and make them swing and miss? Like have some sort of purpose. And then when
Yes.
it comes time for travel ball, you're better than
Hmm.
high school ball varies in the country if it's high quality or
Right.
not, what the competition is like. So always have a purpose. And then when travel ball season comes, you're not like dusting off the cobwebs. And then
Yes.
also be your own advocate. If you get tired during high school ball or you're feeling a little nagging injury, you have to speak up for yourself and say, I need a break. So when it comes time for Zoom into June, we're ready.
Yeah.
Like we're ready
Right.
to go because we're rested and we've been practicing certain skills, developing the skills. And as a coach, it's hard if you're talking travel ball coach or high school coach. They have different roles.
Yeah, absolutely. It is. It's so hard because, like you said, high school, it can be there can be some really competitive high school ball
Yes.
out there, but there is some where it's like you're just mowing them down and it's like, how can I stay sharp, without
Right.
getting a little complacent because you know that you can just, like as a pitcher,
Yes.
blow by them and not have to worry about your
Yes.
spin. So I love
Yes.
that. So last thing for you, and I will let you go. I just want to give you the floor on telling people that are watching this, like how should they get connected with you or learn more about your services if they're interested after hearing this interview?
Yes. I'm recruiting with Rhoda. I have a website, recruitingwithrhoda.com. Instagram is where I really get the best content out. I'm always trying to give tips, which that at recruiting with Rhoda. I like you said, I'm trying to interview coaches. I'm trying to get the information straight from the coaches to the players. I have to do that, be the in between sometimes, but you can touch my email is recruitingwithrhoda@gmail.com. Follow me on Instagram for tips. DM me, email me, whatever works for you. I offer services for teams
Oh,
where I can work
perfect.
with the whole team. I do individual clients, and then this after going to the NFCA convention and with Be Your Own Advocate, I'm starting after high school ball a membership program where it can be much
Okay.
more affordable for everyone to get the information. So I'm trying to cover all the bases that if you need or want the information, I can get it to as many people as possible and help educate them on the process.
Awesome. Well, that's so cool. I love what you're doing. I think it's so needed, especially now in today's travel softball world. So thank you for doing everything you're doing for the sport. Thank you for sitting down with me and talking for a few minutes. I loved hearing more about your company. And I definitely hope to be working with you soon, maybe ambassador call, something fun like that. But I will definitely keep in touch to see what we can maybe do possibly in the future together.
Excellent. Thank you, Katie, for having me. And thank
Awesome.
you to Extra Innings Softball as well for doing all that you do for the softball world.